Lots of people have got in contact today. We're going to start, first of all, with Kim, who's on the line. Good morning to you, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling in. And actually, you're similar to Craig because your phobia is about eggs, but this is just eggs in any way.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Do you know when this started?
About 20 years ago when my daughter was little.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've eaten eggs before then? You have eaten eggs in your life?
Oh, yes, I've had eggs before. I used to love egg and chips, but since doing the fried egg for my daughter when I was ill, that was it. I haven't touched one since.
Right, so Kim, can I ask, obviously, so you know that you're OK with eggs, and then you're in this situation where you're making eggs for your daughter when you're ill. Did you vomit at all?
I had to leave it. My mum took it over and I went into the bathroom to be sick.
But did you...
Right, so that right there is the issue, because what you've done, you were OK with eggs, and then you're in a situation that you're making eggs, but you're ill. And because you're ill, and maybe you had, a tummy bug or something, and you went and vomited, in that moment, what you've done, you've linked being sick to eggs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and I think we can all relate to some situation like that where we've had some food or maybe alcohol and we've been sick, and then we've linked to that, and then we can never touch it again. And this is what's happened to you right now. So what I'd like you to consider, I'd like to look at it in a different way if you could do. I'd like you to consider that actually what put you off the eggs that day wasn't the eggs, it was the fact that you were ill and the fact that you vomited. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
Because the eggs didn't do anything to normal. What you've got to look at, you'd had eggs for all your life up until that point, and the difference that day was not the eggs. The eggs didn't do anything. The difference that day was you were ill, and then you ended up vomiting, and that's what's changed. So just consider that actually it wasn't the eggs that caused the problem, it was the fact that you were ill. And if you can take that on board, then you can go back to how you were before, and you can start eating eggs again.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
Has that changed the way you think about eggs?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yes, it's, I mean, I used to love egg and chips.
Right, well, I'd like to take...
you can again.
You can again, but just give that time to process. But when you realise it wasn't the eggs that caused the problem, it was the fact that you were ill. And you know, when you're ill, everything can be a drama, and it's more difficult, right? So just when you give that time to process, and I think you could be OK there.
Kim, let us know if you're tucking into an egg sandwich by lunchtime.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. Good luck, Kim.
The same with pickled herring and hot cross buns. My Auntie Marcy gave them to me in
when you were ill.
When I was 12 and I was sick. Can't touch them since.
That's the thing.
There you
happens.
go. Pickled herrings are pretty nasty anyway. Right, Anne is live joining us from Cheshire. Hi, Anne. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Hi, morning.
So, describe your phobia to us.
It's fat on meat, and no matter how minuscule that bit of fat is, I can't eat the meat. I can't eat meat at all.
So, Anne, can I ask a question? How many years have you had this problem for?
About 70 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, OK. So you've had it for 70 years, and how old are you?
75.
Right, OK. So when you were little, like really little, did you eat meat?
I can't recall eating meat. I can recall being given meat, but I can't recall eating it.
OK, so knowing that we don't actually have any references about anything, they come with life. And usually if we have an aversion to something or a phobia to something or we don't like something, it's because we have had some sort of an inaccurate event that's happened, or we see it in a different light to what we should. So do you have any recollection of why you have a bad feeling towards meat? What might have happened that might have been traumatic or emotional to you as a little girl?
We had a very nosy neighbour who always came in to see what we were eating in the evening, and quite often we ate rabbit because my father was a forester on an estate, and he got rabbit to bring home, and meat was hard to get hold of in those days, just after the war. And my mother would say, "Don't tell her you're eating rabbit. Don't tell her."
Ah, OK. So that would, if you were only little, and you said you don't remember eating meat, but evidently just with what you've said there, you were eating meat and you were eating rabbit, and that did fit, and you were OK. But looking at that situation right there, Anne, what actually was it that made you feel bad, do you think?
Because I think once I did tell her and then I got into trouble.
Right, OK. So the question is, what actually felt bad? Was it the meat or was it getting into trouble?
Getting into trouble, saying something I shouldn't have done.
There you go. So what you've done as a little girl, because that's what happens when we're little, we don't really have the experience to sort of see things for what they are, but we also, how we do see them is how they feel to us. And in that moment, you felt that meat would get you into trouble. And that is why you have had an aversion, or that's where this has probably started from. But again, as previously with the eggs, for you, when you can actually see and realise that the bad feeling was never because of the meat, it was because of you being told off or the fear of getting told off, so it was actually a person and not the meat, then you can start to change your perspective and see it more positively and in a different way. Does that make sense?
It's broken, isn't it? Suddenly.
Yeah, because our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our behaviours. So if we have better thoughts, then we have better feelings and better behaviours. And literally, when you see it for what it actually was, and no one's going to come and tell you off now, and you're a grown-up, and it was never, ever about the meat. It was actually about being told off. You can actually let this go.
Gosh.
I feel like the penny's dropping. We see this so many times in these phone-ins where suddenly you think about it and you go, God, that makes sense. And it doesn't make your mum a bad person that she said that.
Not.
She had her own reasons for saying that, but you can understand where it stems from. And sit with that, because I think that's going to take a while to go through.
Gosh, 70 years.
I know,
Wow.
I
She's
know,
carried that.
I know.
But it's a great example of how phobias are created, though, and it's always it's always because of misunderstanding
Of
blaming,
somewhere.
Yeah.
I really just want to get Alison in because she's on the line as well. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Alison.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Now, you've got a phobia of fish and seafood, but you think you've had this all your life?
I think so, yes, definitely.
OK.
Well, the great news is you're not born with it, so we know that something must have happened.
My dad never ate fish. It was the smell, but I've always had pet goldfish.
All right, well, there's two things. So there's two things that could be an issue there. A lot of people who have pets then have this vision of eating their pets. I know a lot of people who've had brought up with lambs and they can't eat lamb later on. So if you see that you're eating one of your pets or you perceive that, that could be a problem. But then if you're taught that having fish is an issue and your dad wouldn't eat fish, then again, you won't want to eat it. So can I ask, did your mum eat fish?
My mum ate fish, but mainly when Dad was out. Or she had to shut the door.
Right.
So the smell, it was the smell, I think, with him.
Right,
but
so,
I do make fish for other people.
Right, but can I ask,
just can't.
Did your dad cause a bit of a drama if your mum had fish in the house?
Yes, definitely. The windows had to be open, kitchen door had to be shut. He was having none of it.
Okay.
Right.
This is the same story.
This is a similar thing, isn't it? So what I want you to consider, that if you saw that behaviour, then why would you ever want to have fish? Because you don't want to antagonise your dad and you don't want your dad to go through all that situation. So it's far better to decide not to eat it than go through that drama. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, yeah. Because Mum would have to cook it really behind his back if he went out.
Right. So again, you're very similar in that all you need to do is realise that this was never actually about fish or eating fish. This was actually about how your dad made you feel.
And not upsetting your dad.
And not upsetting your dad. And that's where this one comes from. And when you can accept that and realise that actually you're now a grown-up and Dad won't tell you off because I'm guessing you don't live with him, then you can actually also change your perspective and let this one go.
And if you also cook fish for the rest of your family, then you know that fish is OK, because obviously you won't want to give your family something that wasn't OK.
Do that.
Yeah.
No,
Good
true.
luck, Alison.
Yes.
Gosh.
Alison, well done. Thanks for calling. I think that's given you a lot to think about. Speakmans, brilliant.
Can I
as
just
always.
want to, this, Holly, doesn't explain. I have no fear or any bad memory of the yolk of an egg hitting beans on a plate and needing a sausage
Right,
barrier.
come on, help him.
So give us 10 seconds on that.
Do you have an older sibling?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Yes.
And what was your older sibling? You see, quite often, if you don't know where it's come from, it might not even be yours. So just putting it out there, you might have
Copied it.
copied
I
it and
copied his.
stolen it.
Does
Has
he
he
have
got
an
the same
issue
thing?
with...
Here's a really weird
Does
thing.
he have a
about-
sausage barrier
About
that
2
he
years
has-
ago, he used a sausage or chip barrier himself to avoid the egg yolk hitting the bean.
So he's got it too?
He's got it too, yeah.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. That's it.
So never speak to your brother ever again.
And then you
Here's the issue. Wolfgang Puck has got fried eggs and some bean action going on
Right,
later
well-
on, and we got an issue here, Holly.
I know.
What are we going to do?
I'm really
But honestly,
looking
when you
forward to it.
realise it's got nothing to do with you, you stole this. It doesn't belong to you.
Right,
Doesn't
That's why you don't
you.
understand it.
he can
Doesn't
have it
belong
back.
to you.
There you go.
Give it back.
And give it, keep
Give
it,
it
all
back.
yours. Take it back. Cheek of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very
Good stuff.